Just a gentle reminder, folks, if you're present here in the chapel, because we know there's many people viewing the service online, but if you're present here in the chapel and you have a cell phone with you, please place it in the silent mode or turn it off completely. That would be appreciated. Officiating the services this morning, Rabbi Philip Sherman and Cantor Jennifer Frost, both from Congregation BJBE in Deerfield.
Me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Adonai Ose shamayim va'aretz. Hine, hine lo yanum velo yishan. Shomer Yisrael, hine lo yanum velo yishan. Shomer Yisrael. Asainai el harim mehayin yavo Ezri meim Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz.
Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex, too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts Beth gave you and brought into this world cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or tarnished over time. Even in your darkest hours, we know that Beth's radiance and memory will always be with you, bringing comfort and courage, wisdom and guidance, and in the fullness of time, God willing, healing and peace. We are here this morning to remember Beth and to celebrate her life, and as a true matriarch of our own BJBE congregation, deeply pained at her loss and sudden departure from our world, Beth lived her life as a song, one with great melody and harmony. Today, we extend comfort to her loving family at this time of great sadness, to her children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and honorary grandchildren and friends and cousins and in-laws. So many of you here today with such dear and close relationships with her. May her soul always live within your hearts, and may you be comforted by her memory. Emerson once wrote, "To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded." As is evident, Beth's life was a very great success. And it is apparent to me from my previous conversations with her and just the other day with her family, that Beth's life was a wonderful demonstration of the wisdom and the words of the Jewish sage, the ancient Rabbi Ben Zoma, who taught in Pirkei Avot, "Mihu ashir hasameach bechalko." Who is rich? One who is happy with their portion. As it is written in Psalms, "When you enjoy the labor of your hands, happy will you be, and all will be well with you." It's clear to me that you are all blessed by Beth, and that you will all continue to bring blessing to her name in the ways in which you cherish her memory and allow it to live within and around the ways in which you live in this world. God, be now with the brokenhearted, because whenever parting comes, it comes too soon. Console them at this moment and be near to them when light seems distant. Sustain them, O God, until a time of healing. And so at this time, we continue with a recitation of psalms and prayers linking Beth's life with the millennia-old tradition of the Jewish people and the eternity of God. Words of Psalm 15. Adonai mi yagur ba'ohalecha mi yishkom bahar kodshecha holech tamim ufo'al tzedek v'dover emet bilevavo. Adonai, who may abide in your house, who may dwell in your holy mountain? Those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, who scorn the lawless but honor those who revere God, who give their word and come what may do not retract, who do not exploit others, who do not take bribes. Those who live in this way shall never be shaken. So we continue with the words of the 23rd Psalm, which you can find inside the pamphlet you received when you entered this morning, which helps us, these words help us see the world a little bit less frightening, teaching us to deal with the loss of the people we love, and instead of forsaking a God who permits our loved ones to die, it introduces us to a God who is with us in our loss and who leads us through the valley of the shadow of death and back to life and light. Let's read together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Adonai roi lo echsar bino deshayer bitzeni alamei menuchot yenaleini Nafshi yeshovev, yancheini v'magelei tzadak, yancheini v'magelei tzadak, leman shemo. Gam ki elach begeit salmavet lo irara ki ata imadi shivetecha umishanetecha hey maya nachamu Taroch lefanai, shulchan neged zorai, dishanta vashamen roshi, kosi ravaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdafuni kol yemei chayai v'shavati beveit Adonai leorech yamim. Adonai roi lo echsar Adonai roi lo echsar.
In the rising of the sun and its going down, you will remember her. In the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, you will remember her. In the opening buds and the rebirth of spring, you will remember her. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, you will remember her. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, you will remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, you will remember her. When you are weary and in need of strength, you will remember her. When you are lost and sick at heart, you will remember her. When you have joys you yearn to share, you will remember her. So long as you live, she too shall live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. So at this time, I'd like to invite Heidi forward to offer words of eulogy and memory on behalf of Beth's family.
Good morning. My name is Heidi, and I am one of Beth's daughters, but I'm standing here today representing all of Beth's children, Jeffrie, Peter, Wendy, Diana, and all of her 15 grandchildren. We're so happy that you're here today to honor our mom. Beth was so many things to all of us. But today, we want you to know what it was like to have Beth Kon as a mom and a grandma. Her Hebrew name is Bracha, which means blessing, and a blessing she was to all of us. Our mom was a storyteller and a lover of life, always ready with a smile, an anecdote, or a question that showed that she knew you and that she was listening. Mom became a wife at age 19 and a mom at age 20. Both our parents were only children, and without a blueprint, they created a home that was filled with love, noisy fun, art, books, music, and an awareness of social justice. A trained concert pianist, Mom played many classical pieces with precision and emotion. And as she played, we would prance around the living room or sit under the piano and do homework. And sometimes she would buy scores for musicals, and we'd sit with her and we'd sing like My Fair Lady or Mary Poppins or something like that. And we kids weren't the only ones who enjoyed being near her. Diana once found my dad on the floor under the piano, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And Dad was like, "Yeah, I'm just fine. I'm in the perfect position when I'm laying right here. I can watch your mother play. It's the perfect position." And not just our dad and not just us, even our dogs. They'd sit under the piano when she played and they would fall asleep. Mom's home was never without a pet, preferably 2 or 3. She fostered, adopted, loved, and communed and connected with countless lucky dogs and cats. As kids, in addition to our dogs, if you were in our house when we were growing up, you will know this, we had guinea pigs, hamsters, gerbils, rabbits, birds, tropical fish, and even iguanas. No, Mom was not upset when Eddie the iguana got lost, and she wasn't surprised when we found him flipping his tail from a windowsill of a green room where he had camouflaged himself nicely. She passed this love of animals down to her children and her grandchildren, who collectively parent 24 dogs and 13 cats. We had a living room filled with art and a basement that was walled with books, so many books. There was always a stack of books on Mom's nightstand, by her chair, and at least one book in her purse, because as she liked to say, you never know when you'll need a book. We had barbecues with friends and extended family that started early in the day and lingered into the evening. We had latke parties, Passovers, B'nai Mitzvah celebrations, and we had regular days with hopscotch and kick the can and backyard s'mores and playing on the swing set. We became the hangout house, not because we were the fanciest, but because we were the most welcoming. Mom had a way of connecting with all our friends, such that many of them remained connected with her, independent of us, and many are here today. Yes, because they love us, but mostly because they loved our mom. Our home was open to extended family who came to live with us, whether they were attending college in Chicago or they just needed a place to crash for a little while. Somehow Mom always made room. This happened again when the grandchildren moved in with her in Morton Grove. We were proud that she always had room for another person, another connection, another story, and we just assumed that all moms were like that. We didn't realize how rare she was. The same welcoming feeling was extended not just to all the people that we married, but to their families, every set of in-laws, starting with Bill and Norma Cape, with whom Mom and Dad forged a friendship that has flourished for 47 years, Jeffrie's in-laws, but also every single one of us. She had friendships with our in-laws that we didn't even know. She would say, I heard so-and-so was in the hospital or something like that. Really? We didn't know, but they all kept in touch with Beth. The lines between in-laws and not in-laws became indistinguishable, and thus we have many honorary grandchildren here today. Like our friends, sure, we had moments because we were a real family. Mom could be yelling at us one moment and answering the phone the next with her sweet hello. Or she'd snap at us when we bickered in the car and say, kids, traffic is heavy, which was code for please shut up. And if we broke something, we'd hear, it was the last good thing I had. Which couldn't possibly have been true based on the number of times we heard it. And when more serious issues arose, she'd say, let's not borrow trouble, as a way of reminding us to slow down, prioritize, and handle things one step at a time. She listened to our problems without judgment, and if she didn't know how to help, she used her keen intellect to research it. Regardless, she was always in our corner. She'd encourage us to do better by saying, it's a good start. That usually occurred when we thought we were finished cleaning our rooms or the kitchen, but it could also apply to homework or a big project. Mom could cook special occasion food, but regular meals were another thing altogether. We never knew that hamburgers didn't taste like hockey pucks, or that most people did not eat tomato casserole. But our mom was busy. She was a piano teacher, the temple organist, a religious school teacher, the PTA president, a Girl Scout troop leader, a great books leader, a room parent. Cooking at that time was not a priority. Living life was. And through it all, our temple, BJBE, was the soundtrack to our lives. As founding members of what would become BJBE, our parents became active in social justice issues, and Mom became their first organist. We'd get so excited each year when the organ was delivered to our house so that she could practice for high holidays. The temple was not dogma, it was just a way of life. It was something we did as a family. All of us became teaching assistants, and most of us taught at BJBE for years, because that was one way we could be close to our mom. Now, Mom never took her role at the temple too seriously. Have you heard the story that Mom laughingly told about the time Dad couldn't come to services with her So she had to take all 5 of us while she was playing the organ, and we were all lined up in a row. And when the cantor started to sing, Diana put her hands over her ears. Or the time Peter trickled orange pop down onto the ceiling of the newly built youth lounge. Or the time that she was on a teacher's retreat and got a really bad case of the giggles at bedtime, so she had to get up and leave. What she did take seriously, or I should say joyfully, was her role as a teacher. She was committed to mentoring new teachers and teaching assistants, and she always found something positive to say about each student. She became lifelong friends with her co-teacher, Alana Goldman, who was like a sister to her. Lonnie was great at arts and crafts. Mom, not so much, unless you count the time that she hung the lime green wallpaper with the avocado stripes, velvet avocado stripes, in the kitchen. So they were a good pair. Mom would do the talking, Alana would do the craft. These were the kinds of things that we did as a family. But Mom found time to nurture us each individually in our own way. An early subscriber to Dr. Spock and child psychology, when one of us would complain about the other, she would say, "It's just a phase. Be patient. It's just a phase." And when we felt bad or misunderstood, she put us in one of her famous impenetrable magic circles, a tradition that has been passed down to the grandchildren and many of our friends. Our parents had season opera tickets, which was a real treat with 5 kids, but it was something that they really enjoyed doing for themselves. As we got older, they got a 3rd ticket, and they would rotate each of us in, so we each got to see at least 1 opera a season. It was fun to get dressed up and go downtown, and we loved being with our parents. We got to go out to dinner, we didn't have to share an entree, and it made us each feel like we were an only child. In 5th grade, I had a rather unpleasant teacher, and on my birthday, Mom woke me up and said, "No one should have to deal with Mrs. So-and-so on their birthday. You're going out to lunch and shopping with Grandma and me," and that is what we did. She supported Diana, who at an early age announced that she wanted to be a vegetarian. She became an expert on all the soy protein supplements. She made sure that Wendy had what she needed when she wanted to pursue viola and got lessons with the principal violist of the Chicago Symphony. She supported Jeffrie in one of her many things, like when she baked and turned over her entire kitchen to all Jeffrie's baking stuff and supported her when Jeffrie made a cake for every special occasion, or the time that Jeffrie painted her room purple and orange. And more seriously, when Peter was feeling down on a particular day, maybe he had a bad day with our dad, and my mom would say, "Look, it was like this for Dad and his dad and the generations before him, but you can break the mold." And so every time she saw Peter with his son Joey, she would squeeze his hand and she would say, "You broke the mold." As we got older, Mom wisely realized that her life could not revolve around all of us, and so she boldly moved into the workforce. Who has heard the story of how she got into the educational film business? Anyone? I can't believe she didn't tell you this. Well, the man who became her boss was a trivia buff, and he asked her, what was the name of Don Quixote's horse? And Mom instantly answered correctly, and she was hired from knowing Don Quixote's horse. She worked her way up to become a producer of such blockbusters as Salt and Hypertension and Super Jock, which featured our dad on his recent weight loss journey. And she took pride in her career and later the careers that we all made for ourselves and the careers that the grandchildren made for themselves. And she was smart, so smart. Was there a book she hadn't read? A current event that she didn't have a well-researched opinion on? And she was competitive. That's probably what made her a world-class piano. But let me ask the grandchildren. Did Grandma ever let you win at ping pong, at Scrabble, at Monopoly, at chess, at cards, or even Mario, where she learned because she had all that great eye-hand coordination? Nope. If you won, it was fair and square on your own merit. And if you won against Grandma, that was definitely a triumph. But she was also the type of grandma who did lunch and a movie and a sleepover on your birthday, or had chocolate milk or hot cocoa and pancakes waiting for you, or schlepped across town to give you and your god-sisters piano lessons. She loved to travel, but with 5 kids, she probably didn't get to do it as much as she would have liked. She carefully planned trips to Israel and Europe and accepted our good-natured teasing when she came back with her little travel diary with every detail in there, including the meal that she ate on the plane. But really, this was consistent with her philosophy of savoring each day and making the most of each moment. She was really ahead of her time. Today we would call that mindfulness, right? Our mom, always ahead of the time. She was a real sport. She was game to try new things or just embrace an experience, whether it was accompanying a child or a grandchild to a work event or driving across country to visit children and grandchildren, or to take a detour just out of curiosity. She knew it was the journey and not the destination that counted the most. When Dad died, Mom almost immediately lost vision in one eye. It was as half her vision of the world had disappeared. But she rallied and she started teaching with me at Chicago Sinai, driving from Morton Grove and later to Skokie downtown each week with Alana, most years, for almost 20 years, long past when she should have, because she loved me and she loved having her grandchildren as students and later teaching assistants. And she loved connecting with her 2 granddaughters, who by then had also joined the teaching staff. See, I'm smart like my mom. Do that. And she graciously accepted the moniker the students gave her as the Yoda of Sinai. She became more involved in her work with the Searchers group at BJBE. And she drove with one eye, and she wasn't the greatest driver in the first place. It was hard to leave the family home on Alcott, but once she did, she embraced this new life in what we dubbed her Mary Tyler Moore apartment. Since Mom went from being a daughter to a wife and then a mother, this was the first time that she had to really design for herself, and she thrived. She became a docent at the Holocaust Museum, and she made new friends in the building. Neighbors would gather in the hallway outside her apartment just to listen to her practice the piano. And she reconnected with her Glenview book group and joined new ones. She remained devoted to her Searchers group, stuffing folders full of information she thought might be useful for future sessions. And yes, we were there with our growing families, and she loved that too. But she was careful about boundaries and minding her own business and letting us be. Okay, mostly. Still, she found little ways to be involved in everyone's life, and she woke up every morning reciting all of the names of each of her children and each of her grandchildren and each of our birthdays, every day. She took classes at the library to learn email. She had tutorials with grandchildren to master the iPhone. She learned how to use Facebook, instantly becoming friends with all our friends, and a ton of her own. And when a grandchild posted on Facebook, no matter what they posted, they would scroll down and they'd find a little comment. Beautiful, sweetie, love Graham. She kept in touch with all of us, and her messages always started with, "Hi, Dolly," or "Hi, sweetie, it's Mom." It's breathtaking, her desire to learn, her clear vision and purpose, and her ability to connect with so many and make each one feel so special. Her name is Bracha, and she was a blessing to us. When it was time to move again, this time to Wendy and Jim's Michigan home, which they'd graciously revamped for her, she immediately enrolled in a dizzying array of classes at the University of Michigan: ethics, current events, a movie group, and I think I just heard today from somebody, a fiction group. She learned her way around the city and drove to these classes with one eye in a new city. And have I told you that she wasn't the greatest driver in the first place? When COVID hit, she learned how to Zoom. She had fun learning Wordle, and we used it as our daily check-in. When Mom finally moved to assisted living at Lincolnwood Place, she again used her intelligence and warmth to make friends quickly. She figured out who to sit with at dinner, how to get off-the-menu food. She participated in the trivia group where, surprise, surprise, she knew all the answers. She joined the board, and we giggled when she told us that she had been asked to join the choir. She was not known for her singing. She joined anyway. She wore the sun hat that her granddaughters bought her, but she wore it inside every day because it was cute. And she was known as the lady in the hat with the bowl of candy that she left outside the door for her new neighbors to enjoy. She loved a good meal, and she loved a good party. In fact, it was hard, we thought we always had time. I was imagining what we might do for her 90th birthday. All of you would have been invited, but trying to figure out how we were going to do that. Her last party was Nico's Halloween-themed first birthday party, where she appeared in her trademark Purim costume, which was a Cat in the hat and a red scarf. But this time she went all out and she added whiskers. We just imagined that we would have time and there would be so many more of them. In fact, I think today she might even be a little annoyed that she's not here to see each of you and talk to you and greet you with her big smile. She was looking forward to being involved in the lives of her great-grandchildren, and fortunately, Jeffrie had the foresight to record Mom reading a series of children's books, so now they'll at least get to know their GiGi. There was still so much to live for. There is a phrase often recited as, "May her memory be a blessing." And our mom, Beth, Brucha, is a blessing to each of us. But this phrase actually says, "May her memory be for a blessing." May her memory be for a blessing. And in the case of our mom, here's what I think that means. It means making the blessing that Beth Kon was in your life meaningful to others. Yes, grasp life by both hands and live it to the fullest, with the knowledge and blessing that you were loved by her, and extend that blessing to others. Share your knowledge, your intellect, and your love. Love a pet. Contribute to your community to make this world a better place. Be willing to try and learn new things, and in so doing, enrich the lives of others. And find out the name of Don Quixote's horse. We, her children and her grandchildren, will continue her legacy of teaching, reaching, connecting, inclusivity, social justice, and love. Then, our magnificent mom is not just a fond memory for us to cherish. She is a living legacy, and the world continues to be a better place because Beth Kon lived in it. May her memory be for a blessing. Every year at Passover, our dad would make sure that Mom would come to the Seder table. She was usually rustling around in the kitchen. He wanted to be sure he was there so he could read this section from the Song of Solomon to her. Today, Peter will read it as a tribute to the enduring love of our parents that they had for each other and the enduring love that we have for them.
To Beth, from your beloved Frank. Arise, my beloved, my fair one, and come away. For lo, the winter is past. Flowers appear on the earth. The time of singing is here. The song of the dove is heard in our land. Let us go down to the vineyards to see if the vines have budded, and there I will give you my love.
Heidi, thank you for your beautiful and important words of eulogy and memory. Chaim Stern once wrote, "It's a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. If your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love what death has touched." There are two verses, one from our rabbinic tradition and one from the book of Psalms, as we spoke the other day, that lifted up in my mind. The first is K'nei lecha rav, or Aseh lecha rav, k'nei lecha chaver, which means acquire for yourself a teacher and make for yourself a friend, someone who is enduring and there for you, someone who teaches you life lessons and helps you lift up all sorts of goodness in this world so that we can build collectively a sense of wholeness and blessing. And the other comes from the book of Psalms, which teaches Limnot Yamenu Ken Hoda v'navi levav chokhmah. Teach us to use all our days that we may attain a heart of wisdom. And Beth truly spent her days learning and growing and teaching and sharing a pure heart of wisdom, for her heart was kind and open to so many. We've heard and we know Beth was extraordinary, a loving wife and mother and grandmother and great-grandmother, a teacher and a friend. And as we were talking the other day, you shared that you said that Beth thought in music. And I began to think about how she was a weaver of melody and a facilitator of harmony. If each of you are notes, she found a way to create extraordinary compositions with the family that she built with your dad, with Frank. Each of you, unique in your own ways, she found a way for everyone to sing together, literally and figuratively, and that brought her such fulfillment and love. And of course, you spoke, Heidi, about Judaism and BJBE. As the matriarch, one of the matriarchs of our congregation, Beth not only found meaning and purpose in sharing the wisdom of our tradition with her family, but over 40 years, we've heard that Beth was a teacher in our school, a teacher that many of you had this morning, many of you had who are here this morning, and many of our attendees yesterday at our Shabbat morning minyan, when we stood for Mourner's Kaddish, articulated Beth's name and spoke about their memories of her being one of their early teachers in religious school. She was a part of a Jewish foundation of a generation through her service and education to our congregation. This legacy she shared with her own children who were teachers themselves. And I find great personal meaning in honoring the memory of someone who dedicated their life to teaching Judaism to others. And a time when we need to cultivate Jewish pride is more important than ever. We express deep and abiding gratitude for Beth's work in shaping meaningful Jewish identities for all those years. And so just last week, we welcomed the new Hebrew month of Kislev, a month where darkness is very present. And we respond to that with the light of the Hanukkah candles, which we'll begin lighting in 19 days. We remember and lift up the goodness in our lives and illuminate the possibility for wholeness in our world. And as you all sit amidst this darkness and this dark time for your family, know that you are surrounded by a community that seeks to lift up the light and blessing and legacy of Beth's memory, and in doing so, extending you all abundant comfort and strength. And the other day, as we sat at the temple, every single one of you shared with me about Beth's magic circle. That when there was some family conflict or difficult moments, Beth would create this circle for you. And in it, you could feel the warm embrace of someone who loved and protected you. May you always feel the warmth and blessing of this circle. May the warmth and love of that space never cease to be. In this circle of respect and trust, of kindness and generosity, may you take that circle and widen it with Beth's memory and use it to help share her goodness and light in this world. And in that way, it will never be lost or forgotten. Zichrona livracha. May her memory be an enduring blessing. Amen. At this time, I'd ask you to please rise as you're able as we recite El Malei Rachamim memorial prayer.
El Malei Rachamim Shochena Bamaromim Hamsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShechina Im HaKedoshim UTehorim Kezohar HaRakiam Azirim Et Nishmat Baracha Bat Yosef of Francis Shalach Leolama Ba'al Rachamim Yastirehu Beseter Kanafav Leolamim Bitzrur HaChayim Et Nishmatam Adonai Hu Nachalata V'tanuach b'shalom Al Mishkaba V'nomar Amen.
God of abundant mercy, God most high, may Beth's soul, the soul of our loved one who has gone into eternity, find the gift of perfect peace in your embrace together with the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold her close to you forever, so that her soul may be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May she find a home with you, and may she rest in peace. And together we say, Amen.
Please be seated for a few brief announcements. The interment will take place at Zion Gardens Cemetery in Chicago. If you're joining our procession, it's forming in the parking lot, and we'll make sure that your car has the orange funeral sticker, which will be placed on the inside portion of your front windshield, as well as a magnetic flag to be placed on top of your car. And please use your bright headlights and your emergency flashers at all times while in procession. The Shiva will be observed at the Kon residence, 4243 North Claremont Avenue in Chicago, upon return from the cemetery today until 7 p.m., and then Monday from 3 p.m. until 7 p.m. All this information, as well as the memorial contributions, are listed in the folder that you received on your way in. If you did not receive one, they are available on your way out. And for those of you viewing online, all this information is on our website. At this time, I'll ask everyone to please rise, and as all the grandchildren will come forward to serve as pallbearers.